This is TCU News Now.
Hello, and welcome to the 2025 TCU Student Government Presidential Debate, hosted by TCU 360. I'm Abby Elston, joined by Ryan Thorpe and Gavin Hughes.
Today we are hosting the two candidates for Student Body President, Vice President Charity K2 and Speaker of the House Reagan Stevens. Charity is getting a double degree in Marketing and Communication Studies, and Reagan is a political science major on the pre-law track.
Before we get started, here are the rules. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond to all questions and 1 minute for rebuttal. They will also get 2 minutes for a concluding statement at the end of the debate. Candidates did not have any access to questions beforehand, so without further ado, everyone's favorite horned frog, Ryan Thorpe, will get us started.
All right, so we're going to start with an issue that is pressing to a lot of students. So with 4 lots planned to close in fall of 2025 throughout that semester, what is your advocacy plan for commuter students and the issues that they'll face finding parking during school days?
Thank you so much for everybody, first of all, for taking the time to host this debate and everyone involved. And thank you for everyone who is listening and taking the time to, be aware of the student body elections, because it is an important time. In terms of parking, I drive on campus. Most students are affected with parking, and we got that email on April Fool's, and I really hoped it wasn't April Fool's, but unfortunately it wasn't. So this morning I went to the police station to talk to a couple of people there, and I called Officer Rango, who is our chief police officer, to kind of gauge what they're thinking of in terms of planes and everything. Unfortunately, he was telling me that it's going to get worse in the next 5 years since we're in construction. And I asked about, one of Reagan's platform points being the relief program, and he mentioned that that would not be a feasible thing to implement at this time, because they want students to pretty much adhere to the rules, because they're going to get stricter and stricter. So he is open and will be sending out forms once or twice every month to make sure that we are being heard and our voices are being heard as students. Thank you.
Reagan, your response?
Yes, again, I want to thank everyone at TCU 360 for having us here today. I think it's important for everybody in the student body to be able to listen to both of our platform points and our vision for TCU next year. Responding briefly to what Charity said, one of my platform points is a parking ticket relief program that I believe will work, because the problem is going to get worse before it gets better. And TCU students right now are seeing a problem with parking on campus. And my relief program hopes to supplement those $40 to $50 that students are paying for parking tickets for service hours instead. This will relieve a lot of the burden for our students on campus. And again, this is a feasible option, because we are taking away a lot of parking spots on campus that will affect our commuter students. And there are 2 avenues I hope to approach this. First, by working with TCU PD and letting them know the severity of the situation, and then going to the Traffic Regulation and Appeals Committee in the Chancellor's office to address this issue, where they could verify those service hours that the students will be completing.
Thank you, Reagan. And a follow-up question to that is the fact that some of the parking tickets near campus are distributed by Fort Worth Police Department. How do you expect to relieve those student debts?
Absolutely. I plan to work as well with the Fort Worth Police Department to make sure I address these issues for students, because again, TCU is working on a long-term result for our parking on campus. And what students need right now is a short-term, because when we'll be here when those new parking garages open, the students won't be here in the long run. So I plan to work with both TCU PD and the Fort Worth Police Department to implement my parking ticket relief program. And if that first avenue doesn't work out with the Chancellor's office for parking ticket and regulations, I plan to open a branch of TCU SGA to verify the service hours that students are doing on campus.
Tuition prices are also influenced by the fact that TCU is trying to become a Research One university. How would you propose a financial plan that would respect both scholarships and the mission of becoming a prestigious research university? Unfortunately, like our little brother Baylor already is.
Just confirm, is that me?
Charity, yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So here's the thing about being educated on what SGA can and cannot do. I think it's very important that we realize that while the student body and the student government is important and crucial to advocate for students' opinions and what students want to happen, it is also important to realize that there's certain things that go beyond our scope. For example, tuition rising. I would love for tuition not to rise this year, because I come also from a place where I need, to think about things financially as well. However, that's something that goes beyond the student government scope and touches to more administration and also the Board of Trustees. They set those prices, and then we have to adhere to them. But that, I do believe in the power of advocacy, and the power of advocacy is really using our voices to voice out what the students are thinking, voice out what the students are wanting, and also using our platform to show students that, hey, this is what is happening with tuition, but we can provide to you resources that are embedded in your tuition, resources that you can take advantage of as a TCU student.
To echo what Charity said, SGA can't stop tuition from rising at TCU. But when students come to SGA, that's a big problem they always bring up, that tuition is rising and they don't know where their tuition dollars are going to. So one of my platform points under that leadership branch is advocating for tuition transparency on a university level. This would include detailed descriptions of exactly where students' tuition dollars are going. And again, SGA can't prevent TCU from rising tuition costs, but we can be advocates for students as a whole to make sure that they know exactly where their tuition dollars are going.
Awesome, thank you guys. And so following up with transparency within student government, what tangible plans do y'all have to ensure transparency within the administration and their future plans, and how those plans will affect students? Reagan, if you want to start this one off.
Yes, so historically, TCU SGA has two avenues in which we want to reach students and be transparent about what we're doing. That first avenue is tabling, which representatives from each of their respective colleges go in front of their buildings and go face-to-face with students on issues they want to see. And that second avenue is a survey system, which we get our word across as well to get student feedback, because the mission of TCU SGA is to serve the students and be advocates for them. So making sure we continue these surveys and continue tabling in my administration. However, I believe it's also vital that we use our platforms such as our website as well as our Instagram to make sure we are being transparent about exactly what we are doing in SGA, from legislation we pass to minutes as well. I will make sure that these minutes are publicly available on our website, and we keep doing house recaps so students across campus know exactly what student government is doing.
Charity, your response?
Yeah, I would like to add that previous marketing committee chairs have done an excellent job into improving the way that we are able to be transparent and improving how we're able to inform students about what goes on in SGA, and just continuing to utilize those platforms, especially social media. I mean, we're constantly on social media most of the time, and so using that as a forum, whether it's Q&A live sessions or it is really getting in front of students via Instagram, TikTok, or other social medias that they may be using. Another thing thinking about is just actually getting physically in front of students, whether it's going to organizations and talking to them. In Malcolm Gladwell, I learned something called connectors, and we have connectors on this campus, people who are influential amongst the different spheres. If we're able to target these people and educate them about what SGA is doing, they're able to disseminate that information in their different spheres and organizations they're a part of.
Thank you, Charity. Now moving forward, if elected, what steps are you going to take to ensure your ideas are actually implemented on campus and within the community?
That's a great question. Thank you so much. I'd like to say my platform has been built on really listening to students, and it has been built over the past 2.5 years of me being an SGA and being involved and talking directly to students. So first off, I never claimed to make up an idea on my own. Because that platform comes from directly listening to students, it is actionable and it is very doable. Everything on my platform is practical. So it would start from asking the right questions, collaborating with administration, which is something I already have the relationships and connections by just simply the virtue of doing what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years. So that's what's going to take. It's going to take student involvement, listening to students, listening to what they actually want to be advocated for, because at the end of the day, this job is for students and to represent the student body.
Thank you, Charity. And Reagan, what is your response?
So my platform throughout this campaign has been based on real results. I want to use my experience as Speaker of the House and my institutional knowledge within SGA, as well as my 2 years on cabinet, to make sure I bring projects that the students want to see and that they are going to be brought to campus. And one of those projects is bringing back the homecoming parade. For the past year, I've served as the co-chair of the homecoming committee along with our current student body president to make this a reality. So we reach out directly to students in different organizations, from IFC to Penn Atlantic to student activities, to see if this was a possibility. And it's because of that work and those connections I have made that we are bringing back the homecoming parade, a tradition that TCU has not seen since 2017. And the feedback, again, that we have gotten from the student body is they want to see this tradition brought back. So it's through these real results in my platform, my experience, that I can bring real results to students as your student body president.
Reagan, this goes to you first. Have you received any outside funding for your campaign? Has the funding exceeded the $500 limit, And have you been approached by Campus Victory Project or other organization whose aim is to influence, student government elections through campaign funds?
No, I have not been approached by any outside organization, nor if I was approached, I would take money. I value our election integrity, and I believe in our guidelines making this a fair election as possible. For the students who may not know, we are only limited to a budget of $500 within our campaigns, and I believe it is unethical to take money, and nor would I take money from outside organizations, and I have stuck to under that $500 limit on my campaign so far.
Charity, your response.
I'll simply echo what Regan has said. And I mean, our election board has made it a point that if you were to exceed, the budget we have, you would be disqualified. So it's something that we adhere to and something that we take pretty seriously at SGA.
And again, organizations like Campus Victory Project have made their goals clear to fund campaigns in order to, quote, take over the student governments at Big 12 institutions and other universities across the country. What do you think about their attempt to influence TCU's governing body that is supposed to remain ideologically unbiased? This one goes to Regan.
Yes, so our TCU SGA is apolitical, and we are fortunate enough that we don't have to take policy sides on national politics or politics involved in TCU. So what SGA is we are an advocate for the students on campus, and we have absolutely no place for these outside influences. And we want to make sure we are serving the students where they are and the priorities that they have for the student body.
Once again, echoing what Regan said, I mean, our job as SGA is to advocate for our student body, regardless of who you are. We are a diverse population, and so we respect everyone's beliefs, we respect everyone's standpoints. Our job is to be bipartisan and just to advocate on behalf of our students and want what is best for our students.
Awesome, thank you both. So, switching gears to a little bit more about your specific campaigns, faith is an important part of both of your on-campus lives. Regan, you're a part of Christ Chapel and TCU Catholic, and Charity, you're a part of the Christian Talk. How will your faith influence your governance? Charity, we're going to start with you.
Yeah, I think faith is something that everyone who knows me know I hold dear to my heart, and it is something that I can't deny. But one thing that it has taught me is servant leadership, is the quality of putting other people first, other people's needs and other people's wants before my own. And I think that's a quality that any student body representative should have, because many a times the student body president is the only voice in the rooms where decisions are being made. And so it is crucial that that representative is able to think beyond their own experiences. And in my case, representing a diverse student body as mine is something that I hold dear to heart. For example, with my food access platform, I was approached by a student who observes Ramadan and was talking about food options available before sunrise. Now, I would have never thought about that because my experiences doesn't give me that perspective. However, being able to be open enough and flexible enough to acknowledge that other students have those problems, and it should be something that's acknowledged.
Awesome, thank you. Your response, Regan?
Yes, so I originally didn't grow up in a faith background. I was thankful that my parents gave me the decision to decide what I wanted to do for myself, and that led me to joining the Catholic Church my junior year of high school. And these past 4 years being involved in the church has really instilled my values, especially in student government as a leader. And while I take my values as a Christian in almost everything I do, from my conversations and my actions, I am an advocate for everyone on campus, no matter what religious community you are a part of. So while I get my values and my strengths from my religion, I want to make sure that I'm an advocate for every single student on campus, no matter what religious group you are a part of.
Thank you, Regan. Now, switching gears into something a lot of people are talking about. Whoever wins will be the first woman president since 2021. And Charity, for you would be the first Black woman president. TCU student body is consistently around 2/3 female. Does this put you at a unique advantage to represent a mostly female constituency? Regan, we'll start with you.
I think it's amazing we are going to have our first female student body president in 4 years, Paige Shearing being the last in 2020. However, I'm proud of my experience and I'm proud of the organizations I'm a part of. I, serving as Speaker of the House, have gotten a lot of experience working with student leaders across campus and members of those organizations. And I'm proudly a member of an organization that represents nearly 4,000 women on this campus. So again, I am more proud of my experience and the groups I am a part of. But again, it's fantastic we are going to have a first female student body president in 4 years.
Thank you, Regan. And Charity, your response?
I couldn't agree more. I mean, representation matters. And when I talk about representation, not only in terms of race or even gender, but in terms of the diversity of our thoughts and the diversity of our walks of life, it is important, once again, that the person who is able to represent the student body is able to look beyond their own scope. And that's something I hold close to my heart. In the different organizations I've been a part of here on campus, in the different places that I've had the chance to be, and the different conversations I've had, the different jobs I've held, everything is just based on experience and being able to, walk a mile in someone else's shoes, because that's the only way we're able to effectively represent our student body.
Charity, we'll go right back to you. My younger brother is an incoming freshman. I don't think he would know who or even what this election is all about. For younger and incoming students like him, what is your sales pitch? Why does this election matter?
The elections matter, once again, because our student body voices matter. Everything that happens in this university affects us directly. So it is very crucial that our voices are being heard. It is very important that our voices are being represented, because again, everything that happens on this university's campus affects students. Students are the reason why any institution exists, any educational institution exists. So it is crucial for the first year student that when you walk around this campus, I'm going to echo what Chancellor Bushini told me my freshman year. TCU is awesome, but TCU is not perfect. It is our eyes, our fresh eyes for that matter, that gets to see the things that we can improve. And so as a freshman, I hated the fact that I got lost a lot on my first week of campus. That's how I joined SGA, because I wanted to solve that problem. So to the freshmen listening to me, take a moment, look at around campus. What is something that you would like for us to do better? And use your voice as a means to advocate for that, because you can have student-centered change in this campus.
Reagan, that same question to you.
The role of student body president has two parts. The first being the internal institutional knowledge of how we get legislation through that positively impacts our students on campus. And that second part is that advocacy towards university administration and leadership. And I believe it's important that a student body president has both of those qualities, the internal and external factors. And I believe my experience as Speaker of the House and working on nearly 30 pieces of legislation that positively impact students makes me the most qualified candidate for this position, as well as the external factor. Serving on 2 cabinets the past 2 years under 2 administrations, I've worked on projects ranging from Narcan emergency overdose kits to homecoming. And I believe this election, again, is important because we need someone who is qualified and can do both of those things.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. And so we're moving into our final question before closing remarks. But how would you look back at the past year and measure the success of your improvements and goals? Reagan, we'll start with you.
I would measure the success of how well you are an advocate for the students. Again, the role of student body president, you must prioritize who you represent. You are not just your voice. I am not just Reagan Stevens as your student body president. I am the collective voice of the TCU student body. So I measure those goals through how well I made sure to include all different organizations and groups from TCU to make sure that those are being effective in our legislation we are passing, as well as those meetings I am having with university administration and leadership to make sure the voice of the student body is being heard and clear.
Charity, your response.
That's a great question. I'll start by saying running for student body vice president last year was something that was impactful, and I've just watched, the growth even in my platform points. Before we could, focus on what the majority on this campus will focus on, being concert or other things, but just being able to be a voice for people who were unheard and people whose, situations might not be the first thing we think about. For example, the food access point on my platform, something that may not affect the majority of our students, but every student matters on this campus, and every student experience should be as best as we can possibly get it to be. So thinking about students who get to stay here over the break, or thinking about students who observe Passover or Ramadan or Lent, thinking about students who are so financially burdened, who want to study abroad but can't, thinking about those students who are not necessarily the majority, but yet are still a vital part of our campus and who deserve to have the best TCU experience as every other student has been a way that I've seen myself grow and will continue to grow.
To both of you, congratulations for running impressive campaigns. It is now time for your closing remarks. We will start with Charity.
Once again, thank you so much to every single person here in this room, TCU 360, for making this happen. It is an awesome time, and thank you so much for all the students who are taking the time to listen to this 30-minute or so debate. I'd just like to say that I have the experience I've been the student body vice president currently this year. I was the committee chair for academic affairs prior to that. And all that matters is truly what we really care about. When you look at our platforms, you can see that I would care about, yes, the majority, but also just looking at those individual things that affect the subset of students that necessarily are not having their voices heard. That's something that I care about and hold really dear to my heart. I have the vision, I have the passion, and I also have the experience needed for this role. And I'd encourage all of you to vote tomorrow. Whether you're voting for me or not, I want you to use your voice to vote, because being a student body president matters because you're representing the entire body.
Charity, thank you. Reagan?
I once again echo what Charity said. Thank you, TCU 360, for having us here today, and for all the students and everyone else watching online. Thank you for participating in our elections process. I believe my experience makes me the best qualified candidate to be your student body president, from serving as Speaker of the House in student government to knowing the internal workings, to serving as the Campus Affairs Committee Chair, being on cabinet the past 2 years, the class of 2026 representative, and the co-chair of the Homecoming Committee. I am committed to making sure every student's voice is heard on campus, and my platform of real results will make sure I execute that promise well through resources, experience, advising, and leadership. I plan to be a student body president for all students, and not just the big communities on campus, but everyone small to large. So once again, vote in your TCU email tomorrow, and thank you again for having us here today.
And that is all we have time for. Thank you both for a great debate.
Voting is tomorrow, April 9th from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can vote using a link sent to your TCU email.
Keep up with election results tomorrow on TCU360.com and on our socials at TCU360. Once again, I'm Abby Elston, joined by Ryan Thorpe and Gavin Hughes. Have a great day.